California's Gold is produced in association with KCET Los Angeles and is seen statewide on California Public Television. This series is endorsed by the California Teachers Association, the California School Boards Association, and the California Library Association.
Well, hello everybody, I'm Huell. And you know, here in Southern California, especially here in Los Angeles, tourists and locals alike enjoy visiting the grave sites of movie stars, of celebrities. For example, right now I'm in the Hollywood Forever Cemetery in Hollywood, standing right next to the final resting place of the legendary actor Tyrone Power. But Tyrone Power is just one of many movie stars buried in just this one cemetery, isn't he, Steve?
That's right, Huell. We have many celebrities around us. Marion Davies is right here. Cecil B. DeMille, the legendary director. Don Adams from Get Smart. Fay Wray from King Kong is over here. John Huston. It's loaded with famous people.
And I was right when I said that tourists and locals alike really in many ways make pilgrimages to these grave sites, don't they?
That's true. Here in Westwood and other cemeteries that are loaded with celebrities. Valentino is in here. He draws a service every year, 80 years after his death.
Yeah, people still come on the anniversary of his death.
That's correct, and there's a big service every year.
Well, there's no doubt about it. Celebrities are a big draw, even in death, here in Southern California. We know about the celebrities, but I've got a question here. What happens to our animal celebrities, to the animals who starred in movies and television series, because they're an important part of our culture as well. And that's what this adventure is all about. We're going in search of the final resting place of some of the most famous animals in show business. And it should be a lot of fun. We've got a lot of animals to visit today, and the adventure starts right now. First stop on our visit to celebrity animal grave sites, and that first stop brings us here to Glendale. We're right on the side of busy Glendale Boulevard. And why are we here, Steve?
Well, Huell, back in 1914, this was called Mixville. William Selig, an early filmmaker, built a studio, a western town here, for his biggest cowboy star, Tom Mix, who was the biggest silent cowboy star of all time at that time. So this entire western village was named after him. It was called Mixville, and this is where he made his movies. And when his first horse, Old Blue, who was his co-star, as famous as Tom himself was, Old Blue died. They buried him right here in Mixville.
Okay, so actually Old Blue, Tom Mix's horse in those early silent films, was probably one of the first true animal movie stars.
That's
People
correct.
all over the country knew Old Blue.
Absolutely, all over the world, yes.
So when he died and was buried here at Mixville, that was a big deal.
They made a very big deal about it, yes. It was a very sad occasion. Old Blue had passed away, yeah.
So we are here now to visit the grave site of that one of those early animal stars, Old Blue. And where is his grave, Steve?
That would be right here in this parking lot.
Right here?
Yeah.
What happened?
They paved over Mixville. Now it's a bank and it's a shopping center, it's a grocery store, and Old Blue is under this parking lot. This was the grave. This was Mixville, this entire block.
So they not only paved over Mixville, they paved over Old Blue's grave.
That's correct. This car is driving right over it right now.
So there's no plaque, there's no marker, there's no indication that Old Blue is out there anywhere.
None whatsoever.
Except but he's there.
He's there.
We know he's there.
It's in the history books, yeah.
So we didn't actually get to see Old Blue's grave. We know it's somewhere right here.
About where the arrow is on the pavement.
So let's just stand here for a moment and look out here. We struck out on the first one, but at least we know the general area. Let's stand here for a moment of silence at the grave site of Tom Mix's famous sidekick horse, Old Blue. It's now a parking lot here in Glendale. Rest in peace. Well, I hate to admit it, Steve, but we struck out with Old Blue.
Yes.
But actually, Old Blue is very obscure. A lot of people wouldn't even remember Old Blue, would they?
Today that would be true, unfortunately, yeah.
Because he was a silent movie star animal.
Correct. 90 years ago, a long
But
time.
we're not going to be deterred. We're going for the gold right now because we're now going to visit the grave site of what I think probably is one of the most famous animal movie stars of all time.
Right.
We're talking about
Toto from The Wizard of Oz.
Toto from The Wizard of Oz. Who would not love little Toto?
Of course.
With Judy Garland.
Exactly.
But there's a great story about Toto because Toto starred in a lot of movies before and after The Wizard of Oz.
That's correct. Toto had quite a career. He was one of the animals of Carl Spitz. Carl Spitz was a big animal trainer, had a ranch, and he had many animal actors. Toto was his most famous.
Okay, now the
His name was
Wizard...
Terry. His real name is Terry, the dog.
Toto's real name... Oh, so Toto
Terry.
was just Terry's
The
stage
character.
name.
Well, the character created by L. Frank Baum for the story, yeah.
Okay, now The Wizard of Oz was made back in...
1939,
And Toto died in...
1945.
So Toto lived 6 years in stardom, real big stardom.
Correct.
When Toto died, where was Toto buried? Where was the place they decided to bury Toto?
On the ranch of Carl Spitz. They buried him basically in the backyard of this nice ranch where he had been trained and where he lived and where the other animals all had a pretty nice life.
Okay, so Toto was buried in the backyard of the guy who trained him and owned him.
That's right.
And we have now come to that backyard. Where are we exactly? What city are we in?
We are in Van Nuys, or Studio City. This is
Studio
Studio
City, right off of...
The Ventura Freeway, Laurel Canyon,
right.
between Laurel Canyon and Whitsett.
Okay, the suspense is building because we're getting ready to visit Toto's grave. And where is Toto's grave?
Well, Huell, it's under a parking lot like Old Blue was, where the freeway comes over this parking lot. These apartment buildings are now built over what used to be the ranch of Carl Spitz. We're standing on the ranch of Carl Spitz. It's now parking lots, there's a bar here, there's apartment houses.
And the freeway.
And the freeway. And Toto is about where those trees are under the freeway.
Right near the Dempsey dumpsters.
Yeah, yeah.
So wait a minute. Again, there's no plaque.
Right.
There's no marker.
Right.
There's no evidence that this home and that this gravesite and that Toto ever existed.
Isn't it a tragedy? I think it's really sad. It's horrible. But there it is.
So far we're batting
0.
0 for 2.
Yeah, we're 0 for 2.
But we're still at the gravesite.
Yeah, we are.
So let's once again stand for a moment of silence here by the freeway, by the Dempsey dumpsters, for a moment of silence for everyone's favorite little dog, little movie dog, Toto. Rest in peace, Toto. Well, we're 0-2 so far, but now we're going for a home run. We've come to Forest Lawn, Hollywood Hills Cemetery in Burbank. This is a cemetery for humans.
That's
for
correct.
people. Why are we here to look for animals?
Well, Huell, there was a very famous animal trainer by the name of Frank Inn, and people would recognize a lot of his animal actors, the three most famous being Benji, the dog, Arnold the Pig from Green Acres, and Tramp, the family dog from My Three Sons.
Okay, so wait a minute. Frank trained all these famous dogs, and they were all, well, two dogs and a pig.
2 dogs and a pig.
These were very famous. These are household words.
Yeah.
Tramp.
Tramp.
Tramp's probably the most obscure.
But My Three Sons people know, and they remember there was a dog, a shaggy dog.
They definitely remember Benji,
Yes.
and they definitely remember Arnold the Pig.
Right, Arnold Ziffel, yeah.
Okay, so you still haven't answered my question.
Okay, so all three of these animals predeceased Frank Inn, and he kept their ashes in little urns in the house, and it was his wish that when he died, their ashes be included in his casket and buried with him here at Forest Lawn.
Wait a minute, let's repeat that one more time.
Yeah.
All three of these animals died before he did.
That's right.
He had them all cremated,
Right.
saved their ashes in little urns.
Right.
And in his will, he said he wanted those three animals buried with him in his casket at Forest Lawn.
Correct, and that's what they did.
Now, actually, I knew that story, but this is a great setup because I called Forest Lawn to get permission to visit Frank's grave.
Yeah.
They wouldn't let us on the property.
I'm not surprised.
Why?
Forest Lawn does not encourage people to come visit celebrity graves. They like to pretend they don't have any celebrity graves. You should come see the artwork, but don't ask for any celebrity graves.
And they also told me that it would have been impossible for those ashes to be in his casket because it's against California law to bury animals with people.
Yes, illegal but not impossible.
Yeah,
so it was
because
done. They were slipped in by somebody.
Yeah, Frank's relatives could have slipped those ashes in the bottom of the casket
Sure.
and somebody wasn't looking. Who's going to care?
Nobody would know. But it's true.
Do you think this really happened, or is this an urban myth? Is this an urban tale?
I believe it's absolutely true. I've read it in several sources as fact, not as conjecture. So these are resources that I use, and I believe that the animals are here.
So you think that the ashes of Arnold the Pig, Tramp the dog, and Benji the dog are buried with Frank in Forest Lawn, Hollywood Hills?
Yes, absolutely.
This is a very bizarre story.
Yeah.
Do you think people are going to believe this? Because this
all
is
they have to do is look it up.
Story.
All they have to do is look it up. I'm not making the stuff up.
Well, you've written a book about this, so
Yes,
you must know what you're talking about.
I hope so.
Well, now we're 0-3 or 0-5 if you count each individual animal, because we so far have not been able to visit a single animal gravesite.
That's true.
But let's stand out of the way and once again pay our respects to Frank N., who is buried in Forest Lawn, and of course have a moment of silence for Tramp, for Benji, and for Arnold the Pig. May they all rest in peace. Okay, I am tired of striking out as far as visiting the actual grave sites of celebrity animal actors. So we have come to a place where I know we're going to be able to visit some celebrity animal grave sites. Ellen, explain to everybody exactly where we're standing right now.
We are at the Los Angeles Pet Memorial Park in Calabasas.
And a beautiful park it is. This park has been here for how long?
Since 1928.
And you have how many pets buried here?
Approximately 50,000.
So people have been burying their pets here since the day this opened in 1928.
Absolutely.
Now, out of the 50,000, how many of these pets are celebrity pets, would you guess?
I can't tell you an exact number, but I would say that there's a large percentage because, of course, here we are in Hollywood.
Mm-hmm. Do you encourage us to seek them out? Do you want us just to wander around?
Well, by all means, we'll come and we'll look at some of the ones that are very well known to the American public.
Our first honest-to-goodness celebrity animal gravesite that is still intact. K-Bar, my faithful dog, Rudolph Valentino, owner. Now, Steve, this is exciting. We finally found a grave site, but K-Bar himself was not a star, was he?
Well, he was not an actor, but he was well known to the fans of Rudolph Valentino because he was always in pictures with him. He's a famous pet.
So he was in a lot of pictures with Rudolph Valentino and was famous as his pet.
Correct.
And you have a great story about K-Bar.
Yes, well, interestingly enough, K-Bar actually passed away after Valentino had died. And, of course, that was back in the 20s when there was not a lot of, we didn't have cell phones and we didn't have all the wonderful electronic things that we have today. Valentino died in New York unexpectedly. And at the exact moment that he died, we understand, K-Bar set to howling and carrying on and making all kinds of a racket, and the neighbors were complaining and everything.
Back here in California.
Back in 3,000
miles away, K-Bar
sensed it.
At the exact moment.
At the exact moment.
3,000 miles away.
That's the story. And of course, the people that were taking care of him couldn't understand why he was carrying on so, couldn't calm him down, and eventually the telegram came hours later that, you know, Mr. Valentino had passed on.
And they put it all together. Had you ever heard this story?
That I had not heard, but I love it. I think it's a great story.
Wow. I guess there are a lot of these kinds of stories, aren't there?
Very interesting California stories, basically. And, of course, we've never seen K-Bar. We understand that there are rumors that K-Bar is here haunting the cemetery, but I can assure you all, we never see K-Bar.
Just his gravesite.
Just his grave, and we're glad to have him here as one of our residents.
We're walking up the hill to visit a obscure gravesite here under this tree, but a very important one. The stone says, Sally, Pete, Teddy, faithful pals of Ted and Ann Crawford. Now, I have no idea what that means, Steve, but this is a very important animal celebrity buried here. At least one of the three is.
At least one. Pete would be Petey from our gang, the Little Rascals comedies. The dog with the spot over his eye. Very famous movie dog.
Petey.
Petey.
So now that's another one of these early celebrity dogs.
Absolutely.
And there's a story, a dark side about this story. Have you heard this?
Yes, we have heard it. We can't verify it, but we have heard it.
What's the story?
Well, the understanding is that Petey was poisoned, and we don't know exactly why that happened, who did it, or if in fact it's really true.
How do these stories get started?
I don't know how they start, but they sure circulate.
Have you heard this?
Oh, very much, yes. I always heard Petey was murdered. Even when I was a little kid, I remember hearing Petey was murdered. Poisoned.
He was such a sweet little doggy.
Yeah.
Well, I want to remember.
Actually, I heard that he wasn't so sweet around the set. That's what I heard.
Oh, really?
He was kind of a pain to work with. Petey was a bit of a diva. From what I...
Well,
So see, we're getting
like the rest of Hollywood.
we're getting the Hollywood dish up here, even on the celebrity pets.
Yeah, I know I'm going to pay for that later, but yeah.
Okay, so let's take one more look at Petey's grave. On the marker it says Pete, but this is the grave for Petey from Little Rascals, from our gang. Next stop, and I have no idea what we're getting into here, but this is a huge stone. It stands out from all the others. Tawny, African lion. What does this mean?
Tawny was an animal actor, from what I understand. He did some early films here in Hollywood. Of course, he was born in 1918 and passed in 1940. So that would be, of course, our early age of film here in Hollywood. And there's a rumor, and again, it's just a rumor, that he was at one point the MGM lion, but we don't know that for a fact.
The MGM lion, the one that roars at the beginning of all the old MGM movies.
That's correct.
Have you heard this?
I have heard that. This is one of possibly 2 or 3 lions that was Leo the lion for MGM.
Wow.
And this lion actually behaved more like a lamb than a lion. And if you look very closely at that little picture and on the inscription in the stone there, you'll see a little kitty cat sitting on the lion's back. And that cat was his best friend, went with him everywhere. And of course, he was so gentle that the little kitty cat was never in any kind of danger, and they were best pals until the day they died, both of them.
Where's the cat?
Cat's buried right here with the lion.
The cat and the lion are buried together.
Buried together because they were best friends. And so they'll stay here forever and never be disturbed.
Another famous movie, television animal, and another famous animal gravesite.
Absolutely. We are headed towards Hopalong Cassidy's horse, his great big white horse, whose name was Topper and who appeared in, I believe, almost every single picture that Hopalong Cassidy made.
Now, you know anything about this, Steve?
Yes, Topper was a famous sidekick horse, just like Silver, just like Trigger, just like Old Blue.
So it makes perfect sense for Hopalong Cassidy, William Boyd, I think was his real name, to have his horse buried here.
Oh yeah, they had a great working relationship because, again, they were always together in these films.
Now, is this the only horse in this cemetery?
Oh my gosh, no. Somewhere, I think we have Tonto's horse here, also Scout.
You're kidding.
Scout is also buried here. And if you look around the perimeters of the park, you'll find a lot of horse graves on the perimeters, and the reason that's true, of course, is because the horse is such a large animal. It's easier to bury a large animal on the outside of the park.
Well, why is Topper here?
I think because he got here first.
And because he was a celebrity.
And because he was a celebrity.
And do we know whether these celebrities in those days would visit the grave sites of their animals?
Absolutely. I'm sure many of them did. And also back in the 30s and 40s and 50s, we had an office on Hollywood Boulevard. And whenever there was, again, a major Hollywood star funeral that was going to happen, all these limousines and all these expensive cars would line up on Hollywood Boulevard, and they would all trek from Hollywood way out here to Calabasas, where the actual burial would take place.
For their pets.
For their pets. They loved their pets that much.
Well, here's one that was loved right here.
Absolutely.
Topper, Hopalong Cassidy's horse. He's buried right here. May he rest in peace. Well, we're ending up here in one of the new sections of the LA Pet Cemetery. It's filled with flowers from the owners of all these pets, and you have two of your pets buried here, Ella.
My two dogs are buried here. And I would honestly tell you that though we are in Hollywood, and of course from time to time we do have celebrities that come in and bury pets here, 95% or more of the pets here are not from the Hollywood film industry. They are pets that people loved dearly and wanted to find a way to say goodbye that was dignified and that gave them a sense of closure. And that's why we exist. That's why we're here. The other thing that's really important to remember about Los Angeles Pet Memorial Park is that it is in perpetuity. And I know you said you had gone to some grave sites and they'd been paved over or they became parking lots or something. I mean, to me, that's horrible.
Yeah.
This park, because of the fact that it's enacted by law, can never be anything but a pet cemetery. It will always, always be here.
Yeah.
For everyone to enjoy.
Well, you know, we've had a lot of fun, Steve, looking for these celebrity pet graves. But the truth of the matter is, and people out there who have pets, I've always had pets, we all know that our pets, all of our pets, are celebrities.
Absolutely.
Because they mean so much to us. I got to tell you, to walk through here and read some of the inscriptions on these stones is heart-wrenching. It's very poignant. It's very moving. What these animals meant to their owners, to their companions all those years.
Absolutely. And it doesn't make any difference who you are. When you have a pet that you love so much, they truly become a part of your family, a part of your life. And in so many cases, people are closer to their pets than they are to their relatives.
Yeah. They become part of your heart, part of your soul.
Absolutely.
Well, we don't want to get too sad about it here. We've had a great adventure. We've gone in search of celebrity pet grave sites. We found a lot. We struck out on some of them, but we've ended up here in this beautiful pet cemetery, which is filled with celebrities, pets, and filled with our pets.
And a lot of love.
And a lot of love. We've had an absolutely wonderful time. You look out here, and this is truly California's gold. Not all little dogs can be movie stars like Toto. Recently, I visited an animal shelter, and look at the faces of these little dogs and cats. It breaks your heart. These beautiful animals, through no fault of their own, living in cages, waiting for a home. The state of California impounds over 800,000 dogs and cats each year, and euthanizes over half of them. So if you're thinking about getting a dog or cat, why not visit your local animal shelter and take one of these animals home with you? And when you get your new pets, don't forget to spay and neuter to keep the problem of unwanted animals from getting even worse. You know, when you adopt one of these dogs or cats, you'll literally be saving their life. Growing up as a kid, every single dog I had was from our local animal shelter. And I'm convinced these animals make the best pets of all. Well, hello, everybody. I'm Huell Hauser, and if you enjoyed this particular episode of California's Gold and would like to see it again, share it with family or friends, or perhaps donate a copy to your local school or library, it's available on video cassette and on DVD. All you have to do is call 1-800-266-5727, and we'll be glad to send it to you right away.